He'll set the groove. Oh, manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while. Manly Mark will make you smile. He's got tales that twist and turn.
Good morning, everybody. I say morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Midday Madness with Manly Mark. As always, I'm over here at Uncle Pat's Pub, just hanging out, having lunch, waiting on my buddies to show up. Jazzy J, old T-Man, but they're I'll see them back there in the window, but they're always running late. So as always, I'm going to talk to you guys, get warmed up and refreshing before they show up for the real conversation. But again, thanks guys for tuning in. If you guys show up, just drop a comment in the comment section. We'll chit chat, have a good time. But I've got not a specific thing I want to talk about today, but just kind of a hodgepodge of things. That's kind of why I didn't come in with kind of like a dramatic intro, just because there's several things I kind of want to touch on, and there's several videos and stuff I want to kind of get into. But it's Monday, so as always, there's a lot of stuff that was going on over the weekend. So we'll touch on a little bit of Trump, Epstein. We'll get into a little bit of Third Temple end time stuff. We'll get into what else? We'll get into astrology, numerology, that kind of thing. We touched on that on the Feast Me show this morning with Fee, and we'll kind of touch on a little bit of New Age stuff. And that's kind of what we're going to get into today. So, like I said, it's a hodgepodge of things. It's kind of hard to write an intro when you have all these different topics to talk about. But I hope everyone had a good weekend. I certainly did. Weekends never last long enough, even though if I'm doing this for work, really, what can I say? I can't really complain too much. Feels busy kind of getting the funding coming in, so once I'm doing this for a living and the money's coming in, I'll be living high on the hog. I say high on the hog, I'll be getting fat, that's for sure. But we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, I enjoy being here. I enjoy just chit-chatting. Again, I probably enjoy more doing the podcast or shows where I have someone to talk to, just because I'm not very good at talking to myself, even though I'm acting like I'm talking to you guys, but Phil's going to text me in a minute, or Fee, and say, quit saying that. Quit saying you're talking to yourself. You're talking to 1,000 folks. Well, I hope I'm talking to 1 million folks out there, because we're ready and excited for a good show today. So let's get started. So Trump's in Europe, maybe Scotland, and he's been asked about the Epstein stuff. Of course, he can't get away from it, but long story short, he keeps saying stuff about it that just doesn't make him look good. Like, I keep wanting to believe that Trump isn't implicated in a negative way in the files, and at this point I don't think he is, but I'm pretty sure this isn't on on the video I downloaded to show you guys today, but long story short, Trump's essentially saying that this is all just a Democrat hoax to make him look bad. And it's like, well, maybe it is, but you're making yourself look bad. If there's nothing to hide, just release it all. And of course, you get back into it ties back into whether or not it's all of the Obama treason stuff is a distraction from the Epstein stuff. It might be. At the same time, stuff's heating up and getting serious. I don't have anything to really talk about or report on that. Even though Phil texted me earlier today and said, what did Phil tell me? I was a little surprised about this. Well, he said Obama arrest warrant issued by Trump. Check out Tulsi, live now. He said that, and I sure couldn't find anything. I typed it into the old Google, devil's servant in Google. Didn't see nothing. Tuned into InfoWars. Didn't see anything, again, on the arrest of Trump, arrest warrant issued by Trump. But if that's the case, I'll tune back in and tell you guys. But certainly don't know anything about that at this point. But if they did that, that'd be cool. Now, I certainly hear someone. I swear, I think Joe's about to come busting up in here. I think Joe's about to combust up here on my live stream. Let's see. Maybe not. Maybe not. Either way, his presence is a distraction upon me. But like I was saying, is this all going to be the Obama stuff all going to be turn out to be a distraction from the Epstein stuff? Well, if nothing comes of the Obama stuff, then I would say, yeah, that's definitely a distraction. But if they start actually issuing arrest warrants for Obama, Hillary, Clapper, Comey, not only will I be very surprised, but I guess that'll tell me, in a sense, that this stuff's not necessarily just a distraction. But if it is, man, I wouldn't be surprised, because once you start paying attention, you'd be surprised how much stuff they put upon us that's a distraction from one thing to the other. And so, man, I won't be surprised. But we'll go ahead and get into Trump. Trump in Europe. He essentially got interviewed by some European journalists, and he gets into a wide variety of topics. So in the interview, it might be around 8 minutes, and so I'm not going to let it suck up too much time. And so as he says something interesting that I want to kind of comment on or talk about, I'll stop it, kind of note where we are, and then pick up where we left off and keep going. And so, like I said, Trump's in Europe. I don't even know what the purpose of it. Oh, I think he's actually over there securing trade deals. But naturally, he seems annoyed when they bring up Epstein. But can you really blame him? And like I said, I'll comment on a few of the things he talks about, because it ties into a few of the things me and Fee talked about on today's episode. But yeah, let's see what Trump's talking about. So tune on into that.
Hello, everybody. You know our ambassador to Scotland. It's great to be in Scotland. We're going to be meeting with the Prime Minister, I guess tomorrow, a little bit tomorrow and the next day. And we're going to do some great things. Do you have any questions?
Like, heard the von der Leyen on Sunday to discuss the EU deals. Are you meeting with Ursula von der Leyen?
I'll be meeting with the EU on Sunday, and we'll be working on a deal. We'll see if we make a deal. Ursula will be here, highly respected woman, so we look forward to that. That'll be good. Going to be meeting with what media executives are you meeting with while you're here? We'll have numerous executives that we're meeting with. We're going to be meeting with a lot of people. A lot of people. We'll be staying at Turnberry, and then we're going to Aberdeen, which is the oil capital of Europe, actually.
Mr. President, can you explain what is missing in the UK deal that you have to work out?
Nothing. We I think it's more of a celebration than a workout. It's a great deal for both, and we're going to have a meeting on other things other than the deal. The deal is concluded.
So on Gaza, French President Emmanuel Macron just said that France will officially recognize the Palestinian state. What to comment on?
Well, that's what he does. I mean, that's fine. If he does that, that's up to him. It's not up to me. I'm with the United States. I'm not with France.
And the humanitarian situation in Gaza, it is very dark.
Just a note, very interesting, that they're asking Trump about the two-state solution peace plan in Europe with the French president, just like Phil was talking about. That's not something I usually get into, but when I was listening through this little interview, I thought, now I heard him talk about that, and he said, well, America, we're not France, we're not with them, we're with America. And it's like, whoa, we might. That actually does sound like he's kind of signaling against our own allies. Ooh. So we'll get back into what he's saying. But I just wanted to pop out for a minute and talk about that. And we'll get more in depth here in a bit, specifically about, the two-state solution in the end times and the Third Temple. I kind of have a video about the Third Temple, and I'll give my thoughts about specifically the Third Temple. But let's get back into Trump, and let me see. The video will start over, so I'm going to have to skip ahead.
Hello, everybody. You know our ambassador to Scotland.
France will officially recognize the Palestinian state. What to comment on?
Well, that's what he does. I mean, that's fine. If he does that, that's up to him. It's not up to me. I'm with the United States. I'm not with France.
And about humanitarian situation in Gaza, it's a very dire warning
I
about.
think it's terrible what happened with Hamas. They tapped everybody along, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what response Israel has to that. But it's getting to be that time.
On the Israel, you said there's a 50-50 chance of a deal. What is the last report now? What are the final figures?
With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
What are the sticking points that you?
Well, I don't want to tell you what the sticking points are, but the sticking points are having to do with maybe 20 different things. You don't want to listen to all of them. Yes.
What advice are you going to have for our Prime Minister about free speech? It's very important to people here.
Well, it is, but I like your Prime Minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, as you probably heard. But he's a good man. He got a trade deal done. And, they've been working on this deal for 12 years. He got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, as you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job.
Still an agent, the royal and agent that you're going to have to bring out the south. It's not something you're going to have to British Prime Minister. Best horse.
The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be at Turnberry. Every course is great. Sean Connery helped get me the permits. If it weren't for Sean Connery, we wouldn't have those great courses.
Read on your name appearing in the Epstein files ever?
No, I was never.
What are you hoping Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people has asked about pardons. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You make it a very big thing over something that's not a big thing. You should be talking about, if you're going to talk about that, talk about Clinton, talk about the former president of Harvard, talk about all of his friends, talk about the hedge fund guys that were with him all the time. Don't talk about Trump. What you should be talking about is the fact that we have the greatest 6 months in the history of a presidency, according to a lot of people. And we had an amazing 6 months. And this is sort of an example of it. Now we're meeting with the European Union, we're also meeting with, as you know, the head of UK, Prime Minister, and I look forward to that. But we're meeting, in terms of a deal, we're meeting with the European Union, and that would be actually the biggest deal of them all if we make it.
You ask House Republican leaders to not go find the resolution.
I was never involved in that. I'm focused on making deals. I'm not focused on conspiracy theories that you are. And I watch you people, it's so sad. You ought to talk about the success of our country instead of this nonsense you talk about over and over again.
You've done an amazing job on illegal migration. A lot of people here are very worried about the situation. You've got a record number.
Well, I say two things to Europe. Stop the windmills.
See, as you can see, let me just write that number down because I want to come back because Trump gets into another point that I forgot he gets into that's very important. But you can see, like, he was not happy that they brought up the Epstein stuff, directly tied it back to Obama, Hillary Clinton, which I'm not saying they aren't criminals, but if Trump actually arrests them, I'll be super surprised, but I'll be pleasantly surprised. And so, as you can see, I don't know why he seems so uncomfortable with the whole Epstein stuff. He went from saying it didn't exist to saying it existed. Now he doesn't want to talk about it. He has apparent connections to the Epstein files. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean he's implicated in any of these sexual crimes, but very interesting nonetheless. And of course, we'll keep track of that over here at the Midday Madness, the Manly Mark, and probably here with Fee himself, because that's just it's going to be in the news cycle for a while. We're going to be hearing Epstein for a long time to come. We're going to be hearing Obama, Hillary, treason. But until people actually are in handcuffs, or I see people behind bars, I'm not going to put in a lot of stock to it. I'm not going to put in a lot of, I'm not going to spend a lot of time just thinking about it because, again, like I said, until I see something actually happen, I'm going to think nothing's happening. But that's just the way I am. And so we'll go back to the Trump thing because he was going to get back into a point on Europe. I can't remember if me and Phil was talking about this the other day in real life on his podcast, but maybe get back to Trump just because he's about to roast, I think, Europe for a good reason.
Hello, everybody.
The situation is a record number.
Well, I'd say two things to Europe. Stop the windmills. You're ruining your countries. I really mean it. It's so sad. You fly over and you see these windmills all over the place, ruining your beautiful fields and valleys and killing your birds. And if they're stuck in the ocean, ruining your oceans. Stop the windmills. And there's a couple of things I could say, but on immigration, you better get your act together. Or you're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country. Nobody. Shut it down. And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. Biden was a total stiff. And what he allowed to happen, but you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe. Many countries in Europe. Some leaders have not let it happen. And they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop. This immigration is killing Europe. And the other thing, stop the windmills, killing the beauty of your countries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much, I guess that was the end of the interview. But again, Trump hit on a lot of very, just topics that we like to talk about here at the Feast Media Network. Specifically, the peace plan. I don't know if you want to call it the peace plan or the two-state solution plan. But that, and we'll get more into that. But that very last topic he hit on, essentially grilling Europe for their immigration policies, because Europe has been flooded for the last several, I don't know if you could say decades, but years, probably decades, with third world immigrants. And it's not only changing the culture, but it's changing the people. And it's you see every day just articles about gang raping, crimes, stabbings, grooming gangs, and they're all typically perpetuated by Islamic third world migrants. And so for Trump to come out and tell them hey, you guys need to put an end to that thing, that kind of thing, and you guys need to essentially end that because it's literally killing Europe. And that's what they're trying to do to America and Europe. And what's interesting is the countries that the propaganda comes out and says are the most racist countries in the world are the countries that all of these people want to flood and come to. Okay, so what does that tell you? I mean, I'm not going to get too much into that, but it's just interesting that they beat you down over the head with the label of being racist if you don't want these people to flood your borders or come into your countries. But the world's most racist countries are the countries that these people want to come to. What did it say? Well, it says a lot. It says a whole lot. But again, for Trump to get into that and bring that up, I was surprised. But again, Fee's been talking about this two-state solution plan for a while. And so I hadn't actually seen too much about it in the news myself. And so it wasn't that I doubted the guy. It was just it wasn't on my radar. And so when I saw Trump talking about that, I was like, whoa. Very interesting, because, Well, I guess as Fee said, if they do a two-state solution and the way they go about it, if it turns out to, like they concede land or concede land on the Temple Mount, well, then that'll signal to us that it's like, whoa, that might be the peace plan that Fee's been talking about, that the Bible talks about. Interesting times. But I think that the end times, personally, will be rife with deception. Namely, number one, just the deception you've seen over the last 200 years. The whole, and again, I'm not hating on anyone who buys into this, because I did, like Fee did in most of his life, the pre-tribulation dispensationalism, right, view of the end times. And again, I truly believe that thinking that at the last minute before things get bad, you're going to be spared and raptured out, as convenient and great as that would be, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong, but it'd be nice if I am on that one. But all of the apostles, all of the saints of the early church, they suffered and were persecuted for the sake of Christ. And it was the persecution that essentially is what, I don't want to know if the word strengthened faith is, but it was like, the persecution proved true faith. And during persecution, people who have weaker faith that's not real, they head for the hills, they run. But the people with true faith, they stay for the persecution. And that's not to say if you have the opportunity to get the heck out of there, not to. But when times get hard, people show their true colors, especially in regards to faith. I think you saw a big preview of that during COVID. How many churches shut down in the name of public health over a flu? Okay, well, and it's like, I'm not hating on anyone now because we're several years after the fact, but I lost a lot of respect for a lot of churches. I mean, they turned to virtual services, and I just, not only have they not recovered their pre-COVID numbers, but you hear sermons about not forsaking the gathering together of yourselves, how important it is to go to church, and how eventually we're going to face persecution, and you have to keep the faith, and you have to keep going and stay strong. And then there's a pandemic that anyone with half a brain could see through the propaganda enough to see, okay, it's not that big a deal. No reason to close the churches. No reason to forsake the gathering together. But of course, they always made it about moral issues, about you're going to kill grandma, so you better stay home, or the old folks, or the immune compromised. And how's that any different than when the Antichrist and his goonies are running around with machine guns? Well, are we going to stop meeting, stop practicing Christianity just because we might sneak somewhere on a Sunday morning and get a bullet to the head? How's that any different? You might catch a disease going to church. Not to get off on the soapbox, but that just, it's one of those things that a lot of people want to brush over and almost act like didn't happen, but I just never forgot it. But I think that kind of deception will play into the end times, because just as many people who were willing to abandon church in favor of a virtual church, how many of those folks will be deceived during the end times? Not only are they thinking they'll be taken out before any of these things happen, which again leads to lazy Christianity, because for the last 500 years people have seen their societies deteriorate, and instead of standing up and doing something, grab your popcorn because Jesus is about to come back. I mean, he's been about to come back since he left. And I ain't saying he ain't coming back anytime soon, but it's like, how silly is it to think, things are getting bad. Jesus coming back, don't do nothing. Let's hide in our hole, get our ice and beans. Okay, our kids do the same thing. Their kids do the same thing. Their kids do the same thing. But the point being is, I think that mentality opens you up to deception, because if you're thinking you're not going to be here for the mark of the beast, well, if they roll out the mark of the beast, well, don't worry. This isn't the mark of the beast, because I ain't going to be here for the mark of the beast. The church is going to get raptured out. So here, give me this, whatever it is. Sorry. Woo, it's a scary thought. But I think that's coming. And I almost wonder even sometimes if all this news you see about the rebuilding the third temple and stuff like that is specifically to deceive people into thinking that the end times are upon us. Now, for what reason, I don't know yet. I'm still kind of maybe I'll do an episode about that sometime, but I don't know really what I believe about the end times other than I believe in a post-tribulation rapture. I think we're going to be here to see the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, all the tribulation, all the crazy things that come along with that. We're going to be here to see Jesus descend down and touch upon the Mount of Olives. Now, how we're going to see that, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Maybe this one-eyed devil right here. But I got a little a video specifically about the third temple and stuff like that. And so I can't quite remember how it relates to this point, but I know it does. And so I'll play it. I'll skip to the point that I want to skip to, and we'll just see what you guys think about that. Here we go.
So the whole idea of, the mark of the beast, it's a 2,000-year-old document that's describing essentially implantable technology that you cannot buy and sell unless you succumb to this implantable technology. So there's something weird about this technology. It makes you lose any chance of going to heaven, and you're condemned because basically you're probably going to have to worship the devil to get it in the first place. There's going to be some kind of ritual you're going to have to participate in.
It basically is a satanic sacrament.
Right. So the key thing is that after they build this fake model rebuild of the actual Temple of Solomon, it's going to look exactly the same. The dimensions, the layout, they're going to try to match it exactly. After they build that, everybody knows that's when they can roll out the
Messiah.
Fake Messiah.
Right.
Yeah, the Messiah, which is not the second coming of Christ, but they will tell people it is the second coming of Christ, to the point where he'll even do miracles. He'll end world hunger. He'll end world war. And people will love him. And after he takes power completely, then they will roll out the Satan worship. The Satan worship isn't going to be up front. So people need to understand, when your church or your pastor or whoever tells you you should await the coming of this Jewish Messiah, that it's a good thing, they're corrupted by intelligence agencies. And the most common suspects, I don't even need to name them. It doesn't matter. The point is that this is a new Christian theology that has no basis in historic Christianity. The Revelation clearly says there will be a fake temple, there will be a fake false Messiah that will do miracles, that everyone will believe in him. He'll roll out some sort of vaccine passport where your currency, your vaccine papers, and everything will all be implanted in one thing, and everyone will be numbered. 666 is the number of a man. 666 is the number of the man.
He just gets into essentially the third temple and how he thinks people are going to be deceived by it because, according to a lot of folks, they don't even think they're going to be here to see the building of the third temple. Okay, so what are they going to think the second, when they start building the third temple and they're still here? Okay, so the point I'm getting into with that specific video is that I think even the way that most people believe about the end times is soaked and rooted in deception, in control, because not only are they deceiving you about the times and the nature in which Christ is coming back, but in controlling you in that way, they also can tell how you're going to react, because they know what you believe, and so they know if they introduce a certain stimulus, you're going to react a certain way. And so they gain full control over you simply by reading your prophecies and by tweaking the interpretations enough to make you docile and controllable. And so the point is, I think at some point they're going to roll out some, I don't know if they're going to fake the second coming of Christ, or that they're going to, set it up to where this Jewish Messiah that's coming will be so deceptive that a lot of Christians are just going to play into it as if he actually isn't the Antichrist, because they, again, think they're going to be sucked up before the Antichrist comes. I don't know. But along in that, you have a lot of beliefs with the end times and with Christianity that are now becoming and getting soaked in New Age, I don't want to say doctrine, but New Age thought. And man, those dogs running around are just really distracting. But I was going to get into New Ageism, essentially, and how it ties into Christianity. I got another video, but well, I don't want to play it yet. Well, okay, long story short, me and Phil were talking today about numerology and astrology. And, that stuff would appear, if you really kind of start reading into it, it would appear to be true and real. And that, the idea is the moon floating by pulls on the tides, it pulls on the oceans. Okay, so it's not a stretch to assume the other heavenly bodies floating by don't have some sort of effect or pull or push on humanity and society. I don't know, sounds crazy, but how much further it goes, I don't know. But the point being is people start to worship these things as the creator as opposed to the created. Like Phil apparently always says on his podcast, and we were talking about today on his show, if it's about worshiping something that's created, it's wrong. People get too deep into the numerology and astrology. I think God made these things to glorify Him. And so when you look at the stars in the heavens, they're supposed to glorify Him. And whether or not you being born under a specific sign or season has an effect on your personality or character or this or that, I don't know, maybe. But when you make these things a focus of your everyday life, you start to worship the created and not the creator. And so that's for anyone out there who might be interested in those types of things. Well, I read on those types of things quite often, astrology and numerology, just because it is kind of fun. They do kind of make it cartoony. But if you start to actually apply those things every day to your lives, it becomes a form of worship. Again, worshiping the created, something that was supposed to glorify God. Even all of these pagan deities were created and designed to glorify God, but people worship them as creator or as the divine. And so I think that's where it's perverted, or that's where the inversion comes in. And he even talked about a little bit about how after the Antichrist takes power, that they'll roll out these Luciferian religions and symbols and rituals and things like that. And I do believe that too. Like these Luciferian principles are in the undercurrent of our movies and our symbols of our society. You see them all over, but it won't be until all of these people are deceived that they'll roll it out in full glory, I suppose you could say. But yeah, I see it very popular today now about New Age things being seeped into Christianity. And again, a lot of that stuff's interesting. But with anything, if you take it too far, it'll lead you down a rabbit hole that's hard to come out of. You start to see things too obscurely. You start believing all is one. We are all God. We are all God experiencing pieces of Himself through different experiences. When you start thinking that, like, okay, well, in a sense, we all are a piece of God. So that part's true, but I think we all are individual somethings having individual experiences. And so I don't think we all are a piece of the collective. I think that takes it too far. And not only that, but it perverts the gospel because it then gets into, essentially Christ was the Messiah. He had performed these miracles. But it was only because he was enlightened. He achieved the Christ consciousness. That's why he was special. But we all have the ability to achieve this Christ consciousness. I think that's a form of self-worship. And so we'll get into a little bit of this video about New Age stuff, New Age beliefs, because David Icke, I like to listen to him. He gets into reptilians a lot, and well, maybe I'll do an episode about the reptilians. I don't necessarily believe in the reptilian stuff. Sounds hokey pokey, but then you see a video or read something that sounds very weird, and you just think, things are never quite as grand as they present, but there might just be a little truth in a lot of weird things. But we'll get into David Icke talking about New Age stuff a little bit. So here we go.
One of my greatest friends is Kathy O'Brien, who went through the most horrific mind control and abuse and torture. But she has refused to let it destroy her. She's refused to let herself become a victim of it.
And if she can, then pretty much everyone can.
Then everyone can. And I think that, if you talked earlier about the New Age, and what is the New Age? If you look at it, it is the westernized version of the Eastern religions. And the Eastern religions believe in reincarnation. They believe in this cycle of out of the body, into the body, out of the body, into the body, until you reach this, quote, enlightenment. And I started out in 1990 when I was blinking into this new life and perspective, and the only people there was to talk to in those days, because there was no conspiracy researchers, hardly, just one or two here and there, was New Age. And so I did experience some of that in the early 90s. And you have, as you mentioned at the start, you have this mentality that everyone must constantly be nice and such things. And so what you see in the New Age are some people who are genuinely nice people. And then you get others who are acting nice because they think that's the persona they must put to the world. Indeed, they convince themselves they're nice. And anything that goes wrong is never their responsibility, it's always someone else's. And so you find in the New Age some lovely people, and you find those who are in their actions, everything they, an inversion of everything that they say the world should be like.
Okay, so he kind of gave an intro to the New Age people. It's like the westernized version of Eastern spirituality. The point being, it's like believes in reincarnation and a karmic cycle, and and those things are interesting. But in essence, it's a whole separate religion that's in opposition to Christianity. And so I don't know if I don't know, my listeners kind of social media things I get into, but it's really popular now to see Christianity kind of intermingled with astrology or numerology. And I think there might be some interesting numerological things in the Bible that you can maybe call pattern. I wouldn't say code. And there's weird astrological signs, like, for example, Donald Trump was born under a blood moon. Okay, that's weird. Okay, say around the same time when Crowley was writing letters about producing a moon child. Okay. We'll save that for another episode, but just another little tidbit of weird connections. The weird connections go all over. You wouldn't believe who's connected to who. But long story short, we touched on a lot of topics on today's Midday Madness with Manly Mark, and that's probably why they call it Midday Madness with Manly Mark, because I touched on just a little bit of everything today. And so tune in again tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time for Midday Madness with Manly Mark. No telling what I'll talk about. We'll see if something else happens in the news or anything else crazy happens. And catch Fee tonight on Night with Fee. There's no telling what kind of relationship questions he's going to get. Our viewers, I don't know what it must be the robe, but something about Fee just makes people want to ask him about relationships. And I'll tell you, he does give good advice. He's a good life coach. So Again, tune in to Night Night with Fee tonight at 9 p.m. and catch me again tomorrow on the Feast Me Show with Manly Mark. As always, thank you guys for tuning in.